Bahía Blanca, Coclas, Montelope, Álvarez, Marto, Jaén.
Welcome to Lesson 3 of using Gizmos for visual debugging in Unity. And so what we're going to do in this lesson is we're going to cover some more of the built-in Gizmo drawings that are available to us. So basically, what we've done is we've just utilized the default Gizmo setup. And this is powerful in and of itself, and it really doesn't require a lot of scripting, right? You just have to include that onDrawGizmos method. All right, but there's actually quite a lot more power in learning more about the gizmos themselves. So if we jump over to the Unity scripting reference, here we have the Gizmos class. And you'll notice that we actually have quite a few different ways of drawing stuff in the scene to help us visually debug our code or provide pickable objects for artists and designers or level artists to pick objects in the scene without using the hierarchy view. Okay, so basically what we want to do is start to roll through some of these basic ones. So things like draw cube and draw sphere and wire cube. Okay, so let's start doing that really quick. To get started, what I'm going to do is actually just remove the built-in gizmo right there. And now I can't see any of my objects, so total drag. Let's actually go in and give us something a little bit more useful in terms of seeing where our objects are. Okay, so I'm going to jump over to the script here really quick, and let's actually start to utilize some built-in gizmos. So we're going to start with gizmos. Whoops, excuse me. So we're going to start with gizmos. Let's do that again. Gizmos.drawSphere. All right, and you'll notice that the method is looking for a position and a float value for a radius. So the position in this case is just going to be transform.position, right? Because we want the object to sit at the center of this particular object. And then the radius, we can just give it a value of 1.0 and f, so it's not a double float. All right. All right, so let's go back into Unity here. Let it compile, and you'll notice that we get these spheres drawn, and they are pickable spheres as well. So this allows us now to visualize our objects as spheres. All right, so what we can do is, and the reason why we set up some of these basic parameters in our editor over here, we can actually feed in a different color. So if we look at the script reference, you'll notice that there is a color variable that we can use to set for the next drawn gizmo. All right, so let's do that. So we're going to say gizmos, because that's the class, color. And then what we want to do is utilize our gizmo color variable that we've exposed. That way we can change the color using our custom inspector editor. All right, so there's that all set up, and let's recompile over here. And now you notice that our spheres have disappeared. Well, that's because if we look at the color picker over here, so we launch our color picker, notice that the alpha is all the way black, which means everything's transparent. We can actually include alpha in our gizmos to further indicate some sort of debug value if you want. So maybe if this is a trigger type object and has not been triggered, then we can drop its alpha way down and make it more red or make it more green, you know, stuff like that. So then we can also use the color picker to pick a color for the particular object. All right, so that's the reason why we can't see the rest of these guys over here. All right, so if I pull these guys their alphas all the way up to white. And now if you want to be able to multi-select all of these objects, we will need to actually include something else in our inspector editor over here. All right, you'll notice if I select all these guys, it says in our inspector over here, multi-object editing not supported. So what we need to do in our actual editor script, so I'm going to go to my editor folder and launch my editor script. So what we need to do is actually tell this particular script that we can edit multiple objects. All right, so if we do that, if we go over to the script reference over here, it says when multiple objects are selected, editors that don't have this attribute will show the message multi-editing not supported. All right, so now by compiling this, we should be able to now edit all of these guys at once. So if I select all these, you'll notice that they are all now editable. Okay, so I'm going to set them all to red, and now we have control over all of those objects. Cool. All right, so that's the draw sphere and color. What I want to do is add one more. I want to utilize this Gizmo Size variable over here. Okay, so I'm going to jump back into my script here, and instead of just hard coding this radius value, I am going to allow the user to determine how big that gizmo should be. So if we come back into Unity and let our script compile, again, you'll notice that our spheres went away, and that's just because the gizmo size is set to 0. So now we can make the spheres really small or really large, and we've given the user the ability to edit the overall look of whatever level they're editing for whatever game. Okay, so really, really useful. And there's quite a few different ways of doing this. So we have gizmos.spheres. I'm going to comment that out. Let's do gizmos.drawCube, and you'll notice that it has almost the same amount of parameters here. So what we need to do is give it transform.position, and then we need a vector3 size. Okay, and this determines the height, the width, and the depth of this particular cube. So what we have to do is say new vector3 gizmos, or gizmo size up here. We'll just copy that and paste it 2 more times, and there we go. So now we actually can increase the size of a cube instead of these guys being a sphere. All right, so there you go. So now we have cubes that are selectable. So really useful stuff. So, and what we can do is we can actually start to layer these different gizmos together. All right, so now what I want to do is I want to cover the wire cube and wire sphere and show you how to start to layer together different gizmos to create even more advanced visuals for your particular scripts or components that are attached to objects over here. All right, so to do that, what I'm going to do is create another color field over here, and we're going to call this Gizmo's line color. So we're going to outline all these objects. All right, great. So we have to make sure that we come over to our editor over here, and actually we'll be fine. We're not creating any custom GUI just yet. All right, so let that compile, then we'll get another color field over here. All right, so Gizmo's line color. So now what we can do is we can, once again, change the color of the gizmos, because this gizmos.color line right here will only affect the next set of gizmos until another gizmos.color is declared. So what we're going to do is give the color the line color now, and then what we want to do is say gizmos.draw wire cube and give it the transform.position, and we'll do the same gizmo size over here. So I'm just going to copy that off, and we'll take a look at what we get. All right, so now we don't see any line, and that's again because we didn't initialize our color in our script to anything, so it just came out black with no alpha, so it's completely transparent. So let's just increase that alpha, and you'll notice now we actually have an outline to our cube. All right, so we can actually layer together different gizmos to give different effects. All right, so let's actually change this to something more like a white. And then maybe we can drop the alpha on the actual color itself. Make it kind of transparent. So you can start to see how you can create some really cool looking gizmos in your scene. And then really this is just the beginning of it all. So let's actually do this with spheres now. So I'm going to do a gizmos.draw wire sphere. Do transform.position. And Gizmo's size for the radius. All right, and I'm going to turn off my wire cube turn off my cube, and turn on the sphere. And let that recompile. And there we go. So now we have spheres with an outline, and they're all selectable. Alright, so that closes out lesson 3. And in lesson 4, we're going to start to cover some more of the advanced types, like drawing lines, or a camera view frustum. Alright, so that should be a lot of fun. Thanks so much.